And so good and fun. Okay. So, all right. So, welcome to Poets and Pints number 104. So, that means we've been going almost 9 years. In fact, our 9-year anniversary is next month. And next month, we are celebrating that by having our Black History Month show that will be hosted by Pearl Warren, and it will be curated by Jessica Winnie. There will be 4 fabulous poets who I forgot to write down and bring here, but they will be up on the website. So I apologize. So I'm going to start out reading from this book. This is a book we have for sale. This is an anthology of people who were on the show in the first 2 years. So it's called The Stuff That Was Said. And this is from David Stein, who lives here in Minneapolis. This is a poem called The Ghost Walker. Someday I will have a pet ghost. I will call him James Dean. He will have everything I ever thought was cool, everything I've ever loved that was already dead. That may be a lot to put on a new pet, but I will walk him every day. I could raise ghosts. I could walk them every day. For a small fee, I could walk your ghosts. If you could trust them with a stranger, if you could let them out at all, James Dean had 2 ghosts. He let the wrong one out and let it out too soon. And now he's just a headstone and a poster, one emblem for each ghost. If he had a ghost walker, they would have seen more light. They would have grown slower in a larger world and died in peace. Owen, are you here, Owen? Good God, just not here. Okay, but we pivot. So, Dane, you were going to go second, but you're going to go first. So, now hold on. Let me read your spiel. I got a job to do, man. Anyway, Dane Schneider, first of all, has books for sale. So, buy local art because it's the thing to do. And they are beautiful, and they're on the table, and they are, how much for the hardcover?
The hardcover's $30, and then the paperback's $20. But you get a few more paintings that carry added to the hardcover and a different cover.
Exactly. So $30 for the hardcover, which you get more stuff for, and then $20 for the softcover if you don't want to buy the hardcover. Okay. So Dane Schneider, at the start of the pandemic, he resumed writing poetry after almost a decade off. Throughout 2021, he wrote nearly 700 poems. He narrowed that down to his favorite 60, and acclaimed local artist Carrie O'Halloran did abstract paintings to accompany each poem. They published their first collection, These Are the Words That I Saved from the Drain, in November of 2021, and they are currently working on the follow-up. He also is a record collector, over 1,000. He listens to way too many podcasts and he practices martial arts. He graduated from the U of M with an English major in 2008, so he's probably unemployed. That's a joke. Anyway, everybody, please put your hands together for Dane Schneider.
So I brought, the book on the stage, but first I'm going to be reading from that book we're working on now, but just some of the paintings. I'll kind of just do a little page through it. Yeah, she did a painting for every single poem, full color abstract art. So yeah, but then these are from the next book, which is going to be called I Tried to Live in the Present, but it was wrapped a bit too tight. All right. This first poem is called The Poets Can Finally Take Rain. To be as free as the verse they disperse, the poets must first find internal rhyme in rhythm with time. Holding hope each line break won't have the chance to overtake any strides they may make toward remaining awake in a world asleep where most talk is cheap and the knowledge they obtain falls from trees that only wane towards someone else's gain. But if they find a way to capture the pain of hope's rapture with pens impervious to flame, the poets can finally take reign. Then the next one's called If We Trade in Our Wings. The future and the past formed a pact to subtract the barrier around my signal's carrier. So I've redacted my hopes and retracted the scope of my ambition, assuming the position and surrendering the rendering of my dreams to forces unseen, because I never remember them anyway. And now the audience are the ones on display, with the tape stuck on play, when all we need is a pause to dim the sign flashing applause, and to cut the strings that make us dance and sing for barons and kings, offering us a shot at the stars if we trade in our wings. This is called The Firing Squad. Why do we gather to applaud our own firing squad if they arrive on the heels of a parade? Fusing our flesh to the facade, we inherit both their fraud and any consequence they manage to evade. Why do we elevate our worst to devour the weakest first, even offering to lick the plates clean? As we join to rehearse their curse, knowing it can never be reversed once the hearse has left the scene. This is Unfinished Bridges. Our lives are unfinished bridges, often lacking columns or ridges, so that sometimes we alone must support any necessary structural support. And many will rush what they have constructed, claiming to know what lies on the other side, while others have horizons constantly obstructed until they desperately decide to converse with the tide. Either we're preoccupied with the unknown or fixated on what's faded, forgetting to take the time to marvel at architecture we've created. This is a democracy in action. The gators escaped the moat while the legislature gathered to vote. And though they weren't actually being chased, for the creatures had far better taste, they hunkered down and lifted the drawbridge, draining every well and raiding every fridge, until they had to call an emergency session as their appetites were facing suppression. And so they voted unanimously to indulge in the hidden fantasy of devouring their staff and pages, swallowing them in order of their wages, until they eventually splintered into warring factions, perfectly illustrating democracy in action. This one's called Maybe Tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow there'll be lines in the roads and I won't have to swerve between various episodes. Maybe tomorrow this room will have doors and I'll finally be discharged from inside its pores. Maybe tomorrow I won't speak of surrender, labeling every gift with return to sender. Maybe tomorrow I'll own the whole venue instead of appearing at the bottom of my menu. But tonight every light in my head is stuck on red. And then this is The Planets. Pluto mistook a window for a door when the universe said he wasn't a planet anymore. Neptune became so bitter and squalid, dissipating once she realized she would never be solid. Uranus can no longer take being the butt of every joke. In fact, the last line was likely the one that made him croak. Saturn fell for Jupiter, even offering her a ring. But the gesture threw off their rotation before celestial choirs could sing. Mars and Venus formed an alliance, joining together to surround the Earth, who was surprisingly eager to surrender all life to sit front row at the rebirth, which Mercury had almost managed to evade while traveling in retrograde. But the sun was getting a bit too tired, and she decided to pull the shade. And this is Old Glory's gory story. We're drowning under the waves of the flags as the stripes both the doors and stars line up body bags. But Old Glory's gory story was always supposed to be filed somewhere between horror and tragedy. Running away from one home only to break another. You're a killer and a thief masquerading as a lover. But we see beyond your stoked fires and tapped wires, your dog whistles and cocked pistols, your killer cops and mutated crops, your assembly lines of lies and smog-covered skies, your endless munitions and extraordinary renditions, and whatever else you keep tucked within, wrapped up and sealed with that shit-eating grin. And then this is called And Still You Aren't Jaded. The glass is empty, the plates have shattered, the clock is stuck, the meaning is scattered, the light is dim, the signal's distorted, the water receded, the mission was thwarted, the temperature dropped, the prices rose, the printer jammed, the door remains closed, the meter expired, the well went dry, the planes are grounded, the flags won't fly, the window is cracked, the sun is hidden, the lie caught fire, the system was overridden, the wheel is wobbly, the map is faded, the bridge is blockaded, and still you aren't jaded. This is called This Watch Will Turn to a Warning. I fear that come the morning, this watch will turn to a warning, and everything that was once tethered will momentarily become severed, as a storm without a siren, or alert scrolling below the chyron, will redefine my relationship with gravity, or seal me up just like a cavity. Beneath the rubble of routines and dreams, where pockets of air aren't stitched into the seams, so far down, the only thing that still gleams is the blade. And then this is the last one from the new book, and I'll read a few from the other one, but the new one, the older book. But this is called Establish Your Own Tune. When it seems impossible to sing or to even hum along, and you're putting in all the quarters, but life's choosing every song, instead of searching for the exit, find your way to the front of the room and unplug the cord from their outlet so you can establish your own tune. And then from the book, the first one I'm starting with is the recipe, and here's Carrie's painting from that one. That one's actually hanging on my wall, the full-size painting. One of my favorite ones she did for the book there. All right. The pendulum swings far too close to those standing on the edge of time's coast, and the mountains will always begin to shift, just as you start to peer over love's cliff. Sometimes you'll even make the mistake of setting your incubator to incinerate. But when you finally get the recipe right, the scent will guide you through the darkest of nights to do things you didn't think you were capable of, to reflect, to reshape, to grow, and to love. And then this next one's called Something Resembling Personality. And then here's Carrie's painting from that one. Capitalism ripped me from the roots like a weed. Democracy watered my hopes but washed away the seeds. Religion held me under until I could no longer breathe. Love taught me to immolate what should be set free. Yet somewhere beyond the cacophony of me, I found something resembling personality. This one's called A Self That Already Shines, and there's the painting for that one. When it seems I've absorbed all I can take, and as a result I've gone opaque, light no longer travels through me or reflects off my face. Know that I can still start a fire, bright enough for the choir that rehearses beyond my bones, keeping my circuits from getting blown. And the light and sound somehow peek around the corners of my mind, pouring into the well where I hope to one day find a self that already shines. And this next one's called Stillness and Birdsong. If I woke up beside you, I would notice the birds. Drowned out by traffic, both mental and municipal, I rarely notice the birds. If I woke up beside you, time wouldn't notice us and we wouldn't notice time. She may even forget to pass as we lay there enveloped in stillness and birdsong. But tomorrow, I will wake up alone. I'll keep the blinds closed, and I may even curse at the birds. And then this one is called Into the Cracks. And here's the painting. And I just realized I didn't show the painting for the last one, which is one of my favorites in there, so I'll show that. Yeah, that's the stillness and birdsong painting there. All right. Yeah, Into the Cracks is the one after that. I took the parts of myself that couldn't be comfortably worn, and I locked them outside during the wildest of storms. But despite my defiance, wind wouldn't make them scatter. The rain joined them in alliance, and in the gutter they would regather, only to return unexpectedly, soaking into the cracks of my foundation, until I found that my life's rotation had been disrupted by the deflation, and I veered off course, swerving away from my identity, when it was revealed that I was the one carving obscenities in my serenity, heading toward a destination that had been rendered unclear by a fog appearing everywhere except for the Myhre. And then this is the final one I'll be reading tonight. It's called The Song of Surrender. Well, the Song of Surrender sounds so sweet. To sing it would lift you straight up off your feet, and the music won't end until after your final breath, because the song of surrender only plays in the key of death. Sometimes I hear it faintly, like it's tuning instruments to me, but I somehow decline the offer to duet, knowing I can still find my own symphony. Thank you.
One more time for Dane Schneider. All right. Is Owen still not here? Okay. Can't say I didn't give him a shot. All right. Next up to the mic is one of my favorites. Tran Myhre is a poet and activist whose work explores the relationships between narrative, power, and resistance. He's performed at the United Nations, been a member of 2 National Poetry Slam Championship teams, and visited countless colleges, conferences, festivals using spoken word and storytelling as doorways into critical dialogue. His most recent book, Not a Lot of Reasons to Sing, but Enough, is available now via Button Poetry. Everybody, please put your hands together for Kyle Tran Myhre.
Hey, I'm actually filling in tonight for Tanisha, who is amazing, and if you get a chance to see Tanisha, please see them. One, I wanted to acknowledge that because, like I said, Tanisha's great. 2, I also know that this series does a really good job making sure that there's a lot of like representation. And yeah, I don't want to make any assumptions about people's gender identities, but yeah, I'm filling in. I was not supposed to be here tonight, but yeah. My name is Kyle. My stage name is Guante, but you can call me Kyle, please. And I have been starting every show for every performance that I have for the past couple of months now with a cover. I got into spoken word and performance and writing when I was maybe 17, 18, 19, something like that. And a lot of it was because of, if you're of my generation, you probably remember Def Poetry Jam on HBO. Anybody? Yeah. And I specifically, Suhair Hamad, who's a Palestinian American poet. I mentioned that I got into spoken word when I was 17, 18, 19, but I also got into activism at that age because that's when 9/11 happened. And the anti-war movement that sprung up from 2002, 2003, 2004 was a huge part of my life and development and impacting who I am today. And everything that happened then and that we saw happening in the news and in the world and in politics. And a lot of people learned lessons, a lot of people didn't, but there's a lot of wisdom that can be gained from looking back. And so I want to share a poem that isn't from that specific period, it's from a few years later, but it's by a poet who I think is one of the most important voices speaking out against war and imperialism in general. So this is What I Will by Suhair Hamad. You can see her read it herself on YouTube, but it's a pretty short poem. I will not dance to your war drum. I will not lend my soul nor my bones to your war drum. I will not dance to your beating. I know that beat. It is lifeless. I know intimately that skin you are hitting. It was alive once, hunted, stolen, stretched. I will not dance to your drummed up war. I will not pop, spin, break for you. I will not hate for you or even hate you. I will not kill for you. Especially, I will not die for you. I will not mourn the dead with murder, nor suicide. I will not side with you, nor dance to bombs because everyone else is dancing. Everyone can be wrong. Life is a right, not collateral or casual. I will not forget where I come from. I will craft my own drum, gather my beloved Myhre, and our chanting will be dancing. Our humming will be drumming. I will not be played. I will not lend my name nor my rhythm to your beat. I will dance and resist and dance and persist and dance. This heartbeat is louder than death. Your war drum ain't louder than this breath. So again, that was Suhair Hamad. Definitely check out her work. I usually am not able to make it on these nights, and so I'm glad when Tanisha asked me to fill in, I was available. But how many people in here are from do you remember the Artist Quarter Poetry Slams? Anybody? Woo! Yeah. Couple. Do you remember the Kieran's Poetry Slams here in Minneapolis? Okay. Shit. Right? I'm not even that old. It's just that things change really, really quickly. Why are you laughing? But things change really, really quickly, especially in a community like this. Not just because of the pandemic, I think the natural ups and downs of shows. And so one, I really, am appreciative to Tony and the whole crew behind Poets and Pints and Cracked Walnut for having a show that's lasted 100 plus shows over 9 years, right? That's incredible. And I mean, can we do this show applause one more time? It's really important to have spaces like that. Also, I will say that I also work with an organization here in the Twin Cities called True Art Speaks, which was not just for youth, but kind of youth-oriented spoken word, poetry, hip-hop stuff. So free all ages open mic every Thursday night over at Flavor Cafe in St. Paul. 6 to 8 p.m. every Thursday night. It's a really good space if you're looking for other places to share your work. If you, probably not, but if you know anyone who is between the ages of 13 and 19, we're just about to kick off the Be Heard Minnesota Youth Poetry Slam series. It's a series of 6, 7, 8 slams throughout Minnesota where young people come and share their work and build community with each other. If you want information on all that stuff, one of the zines, so I'm a little all over the place, but I'm only going to do a couple poems, so I won't take up too much time. But one of the zines I have at the front table there is just this jellyfish. It says, "Perfection is a parlor trick. Actual magic is messy. Resources for emerging poets and anyone interested in spoken word." And that's for everyone, but specifically there's a page that has links to Twin Cities organizations. So if you want more information on True Art Speaks, the youth-oriented stuff that's in there, Button Poetry, the Loft Literary Center, League of Minnesota Poets, Minnesota Prison Writing Workshop, Word Sprout, Poetry Asylum, Cracked Walnut, on and on and on. There's a lot of cool stuff happening in this community. All the zines are free. Feel free to take them.
You have a little extra time because we had a whole poet not show.
It's winter in Minnesota. That could mean a million things. Hopefully they're okay.
Yeah, agree.
I'm going to use this opportunity to test out something on you all. Is that okay?
Yeah.
So literally no one has ever heard this poem before. It's called Watershed. We arrive at the press conference just in time to see the city reaching over to shake hands with the robot officer with no hands. The city shakes. The cameras flash. The city standing tall in that transit station, so proud of his soundbite. The apples can't be rotten when they're made of steel. This is, of course, after the flood and the other flood and the other flood and the other flood and the other flood, after we've traded our tiny basement apartment for the even tinier corner of a cousin's living room. The city doesn't patch the holes in its boots. The city doesn't spend money on improved drainage systems or rental assistance for families. The city hires a dozen new RoboCops, shiny and mindless, like rubber bullets the size of teenagers, like gym rat R2-D2s in clan robes. The city takes a single question from the pool, but the scream of metal on metal is too much. All I hear is the repetition, the same forced smile, focused, grouped, concrete language quip. The apples can't be rotten when they're made of steel. Can't help but think that the city is forgetting something important about apples. Can already feel the teeth loosening in my jaw, the ringing in the bite. Plant one of those in the ground. A tooth, a seed from a steel apple, a man rolling his eyes and see what grows. The city departs. Two assistants with black umbrellas battling to shield the never-ending rain from his single little head, and then it's just us and the empty egg. The $1 million sandbag. This is, of course, before the city learned that you need a bunch of flesh cops to guard the RoboCop. Who watches the watchman indeed? We step forward. It just sits there, not helping anyone or doing anything. Such fidelity. We step forward. It sees us through a camera. It hears us through a microphone. Always a border. Nothing new, just progress. We step forward. A drone by any other name, a litany of all the rights for which we should be grateful. We step forward. Honestly, we were only there to heckle the thing, to take pictures and post funny captions. And I don't believe in big lightning strike eureka moments, but I know no one said anything clever. No one took a picture. The difference between full and flood is a drop, and we all felt it. The question departing. How loud do we have to be to get its attention? And arriving. How hard do we have to push to knock it onto the tracks? Cool. Thank you for listening. Again, for those of us who are from the kind of old school, I mean, we're not even old school. We're not even talking about like J. Otis Powell and Carolyn Holbrook and E.G. Bailey and Shay Cage. Like they're old school. They probably won't want me saying that, but we're like some of us are like middle school, right? Like, but older school maybe. So if you've been part of this kind of spoken word scene, I know this isn't just spoken word; it's a poetry event. But if you've been part of the spoken word scene in the Twin Cities and in the world in general, like you may know, like it's not an academic poetry reading, right? Like you've heard bits of it already. Like you don't have to be quiet the whole time. If you want to get up and get a drink, you can do that. If you hear something that like resonates with you, that is interesting, or that you want to celebrate, like what can you do? Yeah, you can do the snap poetry slam snappy thing. You can go woo. If someone gets up here and says something super racist or sexist or homophobic or transphobic or whatever, like what can you do?
Throw them out.
Woo, you can, yeah. I mean, the big thing is like these types of spaces are important because like poetry is great. I love poetry. I love writing, but I don't think that's why these spaces are important. They're important because it's a bunch of people in a room together, right? Like who would not otherwise be in that room together. And I think those spaces to tell our stories and actually listen to each other tell our stories like is really important. So I'm excited for the open mic too. Once the features are out of the way, it's always great to see people who are maybe just stepping into this world for the first time. I'll just do one more really quick. I have a book. I don't have them with me. You can get it at like Moon Palace or Black Garnet or just straight from the publisher, Button Poetry. What I did bring though are these zines. So like I said, there's the one where if you're interested in poetry and spoken word, like different resources, ways to get involved, that kind of stuff. That's the Jellyfish one. This is the newest one. It's the cover is a piece of art. The text is the call for a free Palestine. It's a call for freedom everywhere. And the zine itself is just quotes and then links. Obviously, you can't like click the link, but you can Google the article, right? Links to like some of the most important, incredible writing from the past 3 months that I think is really important. Like I love zines because they're like a real like do-it-yourself, hand-to-hand way of thinking about like social media or like spreading stuff that is important to us. So that's over there too. I won't go into detail. There's also one sharing my favorite quotes on hope. There's one that's actually a poem. Zines are a great self-publishing tool if you're ever looking for that. It's called BTS 40K. It's a contrapuntal mixing the K-pop group BTS and the sci-fi thing Warhammer 40K, BTS 40K. That's over there. And then there's another one called "Of What Future Are These the Wild Early Days," which is a quote from my book, but it's a zine for people who are looking to get into activism for the first time, even if you've never done it before. Like, how do you become an activist? What are ways to get started? All the resources and tools that I wish I had when I was 16, 17. Oh, and there's one more. It's called "How Do We Build a Culture of Consent?" Literally just different ways of thinking about consent beyond individual practice and more around culture and community. All those are on the table. They're all free. I'm gonna try something else on you. This is new. It's from an album that's coming out next year sometime. I challenged myself to write about the climate crisis. And like, that's a hard thing to write about if you ever try to write about it, unless you are dealing with it firsthand every day, right? For many of us, it's like a one step removed from our everyday realities. And so how do you write about it? And how I worked through that question was I wrote a bunch of songs. The songs aren't about like sea level rise and like carbon offsets or whatever. The songs are about how do we cultivate hope and anger and fury and forward momentum when it is so easy to be overwhelmed by everything that's happening. This is one of the songs from that project. It's called "Whatever You Do, Don't Put the Words Climate Crisis in the Title." 2 turntables on the deck of the Titanic, they pass the mic to you. So spit a lifeboat, sing a time machine, wrap your arms around me, keep the cold from biting through. Where's the fight in you? Flow like the North Atlantic current. You're a poet, you're a prophet, an extraordinary person. So why can't you make them listen? All they got to do is not hit the thing they just hit. Got that new Cassandra on cassette, song of the hottest summer ever, but I haven't listened yet. Been busy with this living death, work and groceries and posting on the internet when the end is imminent. That's what the villain says, but I trust the broken doomsday clock just needs to be right once, and I'm running out of time. I don't mean existentially, I mean the 25 from Central Library, step outside into the hot sun, take my mask off, or at least the top one, air quality alert, so I breathe in, let every burn tree in, reverse exorcist, breathe in, something to believe in, haunt or be haunted. My knuckles bleeding from punching the top of the coffin, no longer sleeping, just falling. I take the coins off of my eyes like I'm all in, all dressed up, no funeral. All dressed up, no funeral. But wait, breaking news I've been following just to hear the anchor, both sides, the apocalypse, great. And they never named the villain, like a single burning bush is a sign, but not a million. Every individual is innocent. He preaches to the fire from the deck of this sinking ship. Did you know at least 3 people burned themselves alive to try to move the needle? So what can we unburnt accomplish? Maybe less, maybe more. If I'm honest, I don't think we ever had a chance. I don't think we ever had a chance. Luckily, I don't know shit about shit. And even if I knew we would lose, I wouldn't quit. Cynicism's so easy for cool kids in designer life jackets, but I got friends in real life with every reason to sink who've made lifeboats of their own caskets. All dressed up, no funeral. All dressed up, no funeral. Traded the ship for a song. Now with ice in our veins, bring the unsinkable on. I can do more, but I don't know how your timing is.
Oh yeah,
I'm sure that's my time.
Go ahead, because there's a whole poet that's not here.
So. We're making up for the poet who's not here. Is that okay? I know there's no mic. I know the next poet who's coming up too is really good. I got to read Ty's book early.
We'll just cut him short.
Maybe I can do this if I do the poem and I don't talk. That's a difficult thing, but I'm going to try it. Okay. I'm not prepped, but let's see how this goes. This is called, what's this called? When it really is just the wind and not a furious vexation, which is a reference to what? Thank you. No one, I work mostly with kids and no one gets that reference. But okay, it's called When It Really Is Just the Wind and Not a Furious Vexation. The year I was born, that was funny. The year I was born, the Soviet Union's early warning radar system malfunctioned, reporting 5 intercontinental ballistic missiles in flight, a preemptive nuclear strike. You may have heard this story, how a single lieutenant colonel made the call to dismiss the signal as the false alarm that it was. But I mean, whew. Had he made a different call in that moment, had he seen those 5 ghost fingers as a fist, a mushroom cloud, the most dangerous cliche, I hold it in my hands on my 40th birthday and it becomes a bouquet, 1,000 stems leading to 1,000 worlds in which cooler heads did not prevail, to 1,000 alternate universe versions of me, born in the year of the apocalypse. I see myself dead via radiation poisoning, dead via the shutdown of the supply chain, the failure of the water system, the reemergence of previously preventable diseases, dead in such manly ways, right? Like an unlucky fall in a fist fight over nothing, like a scratch that got ignored and infected. I pluck petals, trying to find a version of me who survives, hoping to find that, I mean, you know, leather jacket, black motorcycle, katana strapped to my back version, that warrior poet, lone vessel of vengeance, keeping the wasteland's unending tide of razor-clawed mutants at bay version. All these dead worlds, and he isn't out there. All these visions of who I could have been. Not a single hero, folk, super anti or otherwise. In one life, I wore a suit of armor and drowned in the river. In one life, I hoarded food and choked on it. In one life, the basement was so full of boxes of bullets, a tornado came and I had nowhere to go, no shelter. I emptied clip after clip into the wind, all these dead worlds. And we tell the same stories. Which is not to say that I never survive, just that my survival in every reality where it is possible never belongs to me. I see myself 40. Not a dual-wielding bandit warlord, just a neighbor sitting in some endless community meeting. Because how many of our ancestors have already taught us, even after the world ends, there is work to do? I see myself in the work. Not the leader, not a lone wolf, just another part of the pack. Because in every universe in which I am alive, it is because of other people. And I don't always like them, but I love them. In every universe in which I am alive, it is less because I could fight and more because I could forgive, because I could cooperate, because I could apologize, because I could dance, because I could grow pumpkins in my backyard and leave them on my neighbor's doorstep asking for nothing in return. In every universe in which I am alive, I'm holding a first aid kit, a solar panel, a sleeping cat, never a rusty battle axe or a rocket launcher. Yeah, maybe sometimes a chainsaw, but only for firewood. I'm holding a cooking pot, a photo album, a teddy bear, a bouquet of flowers. Survival is not a fortress. It is a garden. Survival is not a siren. It is a symphony. And yes, we fight for it sometimes, of course, but survival is not the fight. It is the healing after. Clean water washing away the blood, the soft hum of someone you trust, applying the bandage, the feeling of falling asleep in a safe place. Thank you, thank you.
Keep it going for Kyle. All right. Our last feature for the evening. Chapman is an author and poet based in Minnesota. He's the author of Sarah Rising, Looking for Happy, James Finds the Beat, Stokes, written with John Coy, and the forthcoming Tartarus. He's currently an MFA candidate in creative writing for children and young adults at Hamline University. Everybody, please put your hands together for Ty Chapman.
So first of all, y'all set me up. I have the unfortunate job of following Kyle, and that just feels impossible.
It's a challenge.
Thank you so much. Cool, great, thanks for having me. I don't go to Hamline, I almost did. I go to Vermont College of Fine Arts, and I almost switched schools, I didn't. All right, so I'm gonna read some poems. They're all bummers, so just like, yeah, bummers. And they are all from this collection, Tartarus, which comes out on February 6th. And is available for pre-order on Button Poetry's website. There are none at the table, but the internet exists. So this first poem I'm gonna read is called Downfall's Theme. Listen to that soft melody in the air, how it underscores the daily mill and trill, but don't give no comfort. Ain't no Negro song, it don't got no beat, ain't neat, but sound familiar. Like so many skinheads raging in the street, like fork-tongued devils in different fits, but monstrous all the same, it sounds like a sort of downfall. The volume wanes to trick niggas into guessing the record done quit spinning, but we know it never does. Cause the moment you turn them pretty cheeks, the racket swells again. That soft, discordant tune that lacks soul and feels at home in ours as much as a horror. As a gunman lurking by the cracked basketball courts, gripping a tin badge, or beside a church bursting at the plaster with niggas. Look how the kidkin hooping out back have learned to two-step to its awful cadence, to sample the sound and make something pretty. How the song is so familiar, we know it better than our neighbors. How it burdens chest and shoulders, and we know where the baseball bats be, but no one smashes the goddamned record so it loops. And listen to that soft melody in the air. Because it is my first time holding this book, I'm struggling to find where all the poems are, so I appreciate your patience. Okay, this next one is called Pantheon. It is one that I've read a lot, and so if you are here and you've heard me read before, I apologize, I guess. Pantheon. The spirit aches most days. Immense blood cost of godhood, our ichor free flowing fresh from the spigot. Black alluring to wayward gazes, how it pains to know they held us once as prophets, pockets overflowing, relics and riches, how quiet burns as next meet concrete or more traditional means, how it rages to know we've given everything and still ain't seen a cent. Overseers' children still relish black sweat so long as it's free. My city, not home, bursting at the pavement with bloodlust hunters, so much roaming rabble, walking tantrums with automatic armaments. Yeah, but more so the city. Its different factions and all their twisted instruments. Guns, germs, and steel, sure, but also the stares of America's initiates. Cushy cult built on unwilling offerings, the way a stranger might gaze and see something subhuman. Wounded beast in clothes, flesh mess fit for the altar, their mutterings, you poor thing, you don't even see the knife coming. It's cool though, because I got legions behind me. Sisters and brothers, wacky uncles and elders who go back like four flats and all that. The ones who've seen pain's shifting faces enough to know nuance. The way it runs a visage rugged. The ones who offer a warm embrace or a hand or a fifth to ward against the wicked. Oh, how we fountain of youth that functions. The spring of sameness washing our shimmering onyx. How we rise each day, pulleyed by bootstraps and still ain't welcome. Knee on neck, face on pavement, all he wanted was his mama. To be held and know in his whole body he'd be all right. I know I'm meant to drop to knees and praise Caucasian savior's name because a killer's locked away. You'd have me shuck and jive, wail and cry as you mutter, you poor thing. Your daily deed, a 3-minute sampling of pain, but I can't go out like that. These scars ain't open for tourism. This black not yours to pity. Not when justice is a contigo in the Pacific and the blue wave crashes endless every day. Our seaside palisades a far cry from safety beneath your elevated estates. Ain't no kumbaya till all the rivers run dry, the ocean's drained. All he wanted was his mama. Don't speak to me of justice while my people in shackles and graves for getting mouths fed and bills paid, while your balding dog of war might yet feel the light of day, the grass beneath his feet, the way the birds sing regardless of which war crime took place today. Surprise, this next poem is also a bummer, but it's a different kind of bummer. We're going from racism to daddy issues. So,
Let's open for that.
so this next one is called Philophobia, an Heirloom. Here he is, another fatherless son, ever clouding away like a drift. Clouding away like that's all love is, slushing through the assonance of lifeblood. Assonance of lifeblood like a war drum, he say. Wait for eye whites, ready to kill like he'd done it before. Wait for the kill like he'd done it before. Well-traveled hitman, a boy like his father. Well-traveled like his father, he smelled arrows in flight. No 6 million ways to dodge one. 6 million ways to say, I don't love you. Like dying with 2 kids and a bastard. Like dying without telling the son of the bastard. There he is, another fatherless son. And this next poem is kind of a continuation on that theme. Confessions of a Bastard, for LC. I never knew you would tower so, meeting pilots with a smile so radiant they emergency landed by the mall, where we met outside Panda Express just a jog from the sports bar we named Middle Ground. Refuge to shit talk and flex our war wounds to make up for eternities lost at the start of a gun. I remember still the flame of rebellion welling up inside my bird bone chest to think my own father was a fan of the Lakers. I remember still your dismay to know I rocked a pink polo thinking I was some has-been rapper, but you hit it well enough the conversation didn't fizzle till I finally worked up the insolence to rest my elbows on the table and meet your gaze like a man to ask why after 16 years you weren't around, and you took it on the chin and explained, and it's no one's business but ours, so what are we if not family? I think I finally learned how to love you there as you guffawed and bellowed, lifting cloth to brandish scars from heart surgery like they were a badge of honor, or perhaps the funniest thing a human had conceived. And much later, when I was a frightful man myself, also laughing at ill-mending lesions, it clicked that you, Father, were a holy man who believed in honeyed concepts. like heart failure existing within clockwork, the machinations of a sadistic tinkerer. I think it brought you comfort and wisdom. Perhaps that's why our summit was such a sudden necessity, and so long as we're getting right with God, before the end, I mean, you should know that when I was young, I stole Pokemon toys from the kid who bullied me, because I could. Because Hypno is cool as shit so long as you don't Google his origins. I've always held grudges, been prone to fits of sorrow, not very effective at saying goodbye, which is why I once wished death would haunt your stoop. Again, when I was young. And I think I mostly didn't want your other family to have you either. I've never been one to bite tongues or turn cheeks, but like you, I've learned to say I was wrong. I didn't know. I didn't know farewell in the parking garage would be goodbye. Not till I was wrapped in my mother's arms. I was told you passed peacefully, in bed with someone you loved, which is all one can hope for. If I knew, I'd have asked for a single picture, or a knowing handshake, at least. Like you, I see death around the corner, drifting lust from every orifice it can, fiending to add a Chapman to the list. I'm afraid I'll go before telling you I'm sorry. As the Texas sun dips, setting a chill on southern breezes, kicking dirt in my eye that's entirely too red. The dirt, I mean. I wonder if it's related to the scores of family resting just beneath it. I went to your grave once when no one was around. I left a stone atop yours, and now a frightful man writhing in the dark to melancholy 808s. I wonder if it's still there. If my love for you can be evidenced, or if it too is lost, somewhere south, with all my missing loves. The next poem is somewhere. There it is. Okay.
That's the name of a book if I ever heard it.
The next poem is somewhere. Yeah, I do like that. I might steal that. If that pops up in the next couple
Steal
years.
it, you said it.
That's true. Hey, you coined it, so it's like a slight theft. I don't know.
We'll put it together.
All right, bet.
Compilation.
Bet. So this next one is To Whom It May Concern. It is written after my friend Dane Smith, who I've been a fan of.
Get him on the show.
Who I've been a fan of ever since I started reading poetry. I've left Earth in search of darker depths, waters so murky I could thrive a lifetime with none wiser. Spelunking crescent deep beneath Guam, hanging with anglerfish and pressure so steady it burdens like home. Not so much the terror's come, just enough to spawn a smirk. 8 tons per inch, a petty sum to sons thought nova that a bang. No weight too grand for us with nations on our backs. Umber Atlas on bended knee, hoisting culture and country without waver, finessing godlike burdens while watching for swelling torchlight. Ravens conspiring above. I've left Earth in search of shelter, some breathing room to commune with salt-lunged siblings. I've left no trace nor trail but prints along the shore. They too will vanish in the tide, rising and falling swift as empires, leaving nothing but eroded ground. I can't stand your ground, how its grasses grow off spilled blood, how each blade bears an engraving, Floyd, Bird, Garner, Rice, how each pyre burns with bundles of excuses. I'm sick of your excuses, your children singing a chorus of butts, preaching to the wake all the ways we had it coming. Shushing the mother who sobs over an open casket, praying her sorrow might grow a kid back. No, I will not settle nor pipe down. I do not wish to behave. Color me radical if it gives you cause. I'm only searching for breath untainted by iron. I'm searching for breath with all my kinfolk, and you would name it terror. We can't grocery shop without stepping over bodies, yet you would speak of fear. your ever shaking knees. America, the frightful, all chattering teeth for black boys smiling outside the corner store, shit talking and slap boxing over a fistful of Mike and Ike's. Because you know some stains don't wash fully. Because the water done faded crimson to turmeric. Because my cousin's ichor is still caked beneath your fingernails as you reach a hand in friendship. Because everyone knows you have no want for friendship. Because that would name us equal. Because that would deem us worthy, and then what would be made of all our fallen? I've left Earth for a life beneath the weight. Someplace dark as night and free of white-dawned choirs. I'm swimming with my ancestors in a jungle of jellyfish. I am not coming back. I leave you your blood-soaked state. I leave you your pitchy choir who competes with the sound of your machinations coming home to crumble. I'm building a citadel on the ocean's floor among unnamed leviathans. I bid my siblings join me. I bid my people leave you to your writhing. We'll forge a sanctuary in waters so black you'll never follow. Waters so black you'd name it night terror. So black our children come home. So black we call it home. Thank you.
How's everybody doing? That was a very tepid response. All right, so we're going to go to break, but before we go to break, a couple of housekeeping items. One, we are part of Cracked Walnut. These little bumper stickers are over on the table. If you want one, you can have one. They're free. So feel free to take one, advertise for us. That's the deal. But because we are a nonprofit, we're part of the League of Minnesota Poets, we live off of donations. So on the table, there is a tent. So if you want to donate via PayPal, there's a little QR code you can scan that way. Otherwise, I'm going to pass the hat, as it were. And if you can put something in it, please do. If you don't have anything on it, it's not a big deal. It is a free show. There's no stipulation that you have to pay anything. But if you can, we appreciate it. Helps us keep going. And then otherwise, the better way to donate is by buying one of these books. So again, these have poets from the first 2 years that we did this show. There's a lot of great poets in here. These books are $15, and all of the proceeds from the book go back to Cracked Walnut. So please, donate in any way that you can. So we're going to take about a 10, 15 minute break, then we're going to come back and do some open mic. So enjoy yourselves. Nope.
Just see what inspires you guys. That's it. Yeah, I'm trying to pick a notebook so far.
There it is. Trying to get it to work. And that works. Oh, yeah, I'll turn it down in a second. Okay, so we're gonna do the open mic. Does that sound ominous enough? Good, good. That's what I wanted. Okay. There's like less people here. I don't know if you noticed that like I did, but okay. We'll start right out with somebody give me a number 1 through 9. 9. Ooh, 9 is what I heard, and 9 is Stevie.
Oh, dude.
It's random order. You gotta be ready.
All the way to the stage, but he takes his time and he gets down later.
Good evening. Hello. Well, I didn't pick something yet. I don't have anything finished, but I think that's more fun when I come here. So I don't ever read the same thing twice here. I feel like it should be out loud maybe or something. But I do have I do writing every day at work. Today my ponderance is I think we should completely do away with the concept of world peace because no, I'm serious. Because peace is something you hold personally, and just make a slight adjustment to it and call it world harmony. Because to achieve harmony, many different frequencies can come together and achieve harmony. So that's my thought for the day. I usually write one down at work, but anyways. So yeah, this one. What's this? This was a 5-minute poem with no editing, so hopefully it's awesome. If it's not, I'm blaming you guys for
You got
coming
2
too
minutes.
fast. 2 minutes?
2 minutes or less. That's the rules.
Well, good thing this will only take about 30 seconds then, huh? The weather was inside, but I pursued it as a poem. Gently teasing a shining from the clouds as I peruse the words available. I pull the warmth around me to bask in the other language, nearly magnetic, but somehow fundamentally different. Without a notice, I find us radiating in union and lift my face to share a kiss and further embody this love so I can share it in my daily embraces.
Yes, it's 2 minutes or less. 1 poem. You know, I said it up there. All right, somebody over here, give me a number 1 through 8. 4 is what I heard. Jordan.
I'm learning to trust again. Trust when you say, I love you, that you really mean it, and not to question it, because I know it can hurt when I don't believe it. But my doubt is not in you, it's in me. And I'm learning to trust again. Trust myself when I say, I love you, into the mirror and into the open flowing air, because I know it can hurt when I don't believe it. No, my doubt is not in you. It's in me, in the mirror. And I'm learning to trust again. Trust myself when I say that the reflection looking at me sees me seeing me and it's saying the same thing I'm saying. And if I saw myself the way I see myself, then I'd say I love you the same way because I'm learning to trust again. So when you say, I love you, please remember that I trust you, but I'm still learning.
All right. Somebody in the middle, give me a number 1 through 7. What? 6. Hey, it's my mom, Maureen. That's right, all the way to the stage.
I'm serious, it's my mom.
Yeah, he is. I thought he would leave off that first part. Thank you, hon. The name of this poem is I Know in My Heart. And I just have to say, I learned poetry from St. Joseph nuns in the parochial schools, and everything had to rhyme, so I'm sorry. This is I Know in My Heart. I feel good that it's so. I decide what is right, and I believe and I let go. I know in my heart he deserves to know all. I've held on too tight, so afraid of the call. I know in my heart he loves both of us now. I've done all the work, but his dad must learn how. I know in my heart I've done all that I could, and what I have done is amazing and good. I know in my heart to share my great joy, the treasure of ours, this sweet baby boy. Have fun with your papa. I love you, dear one. He needs your sweet smile. Love him too, little son. I know in my heart to let go at this time. What is meant to be will always be mine. I love you, Tony.
All right. No, I'm not. You all can cry for me. So over here, 1 through 6. 1. Tom.
I'm not 100% sure I have this memorized, but I'm like 90% sure, okay? I'm winging it. Okay, so
Should we get the fire hose ready?
you can throw fruit or whatever. 10 years ago, I met my son's mother, and she asked me what I was doing. That's how we met. She came up to me, and she said, and I said, I was writing a poem, and this is the poem. And you can tell, if I remember it correctly, when I met her in the writing process. There was once a young cat named Tim who hated the way that the world looked at him. He tossed and he turned, and often he learned how this bright and shining world thought that he had burned much too dim. He lived in a home with his mom. One morning when the sun's glistening glowed, she was gone. He was saddened when his mom abandoned him, leaving him dreaming of singing her soulful, sombering song. He wandered through the house. Searched through the house. I messed it up. Skipping it.
We don't know that.
Wandered through the streets. He talked to twos and threes and never stopped. Exclusion seemed the only end of any outcome. They are not my friends. I stand without one. Lies became honesty, and honestly, truth became deceit. Night became the day, frightening away any suitors he would say were so suitable to stay. Dark became the tunnel, spark he came to mumble, and heartless trains befuddled paved the way. One train stopped along a ditch which contained some sun-stained rocks, and out walked a cat, trapped in singularity. She was a girl, and she stepped as though she said the world was to carry me. She maybe sat in a quartered posture, bathing, licking all the water off her alone and still, yet the home where she slept was not as cold or as wet as the moments she kept to offer. That night he scavenged the forest, asking for porridge, searching for fire, a burning desire to capture the hopeless in a bottle of fireflies. The ensemble inside his eyes when he saw her was impossible to underline or even focus on. And so immortals walk along the crossroads like a sonnet drawn through potholes in the cosmos sky. And two kittens sit and count the stars of Milky Way until they say it's infinite, giving into natural assumptions they thought benign. They each ponder near the diluted ember, and each house cat that tried to remember about the past was a mouse in that they kept on hiding in the walls to shine through the center before finding a little pause and siding with the cinder blocks. He listened, walked her to her home, and only gained her vocal distributions and astronomical illusions, and truly their nuclear infusion perpetuated rolling trains.
Okay. So, I have a friend from high school here, believe it or not. Midori's over here. She lived in San Diego, right? Yeah, and now has to come back to this. Like she just moved back here. It's like super cold, and I think it's hilarious. Anyway, welcome back. Give me a number 1 through 5.
3.
WB Madison, that's you, right? Yeah.
I'm WB. This is a first for me, so please hold my words gently as you can. I'll probably cry, and I encourage you to as well if you feel so.
Crying's good.
This one is called Winter Body.
Closer to the mic.
Okay. I have always been a winter body, feeling a fondness for when my hands are cold, knowing they will be one day. Finding comfort in the bitter frost, I press my fingers to my face, grounding in a sensation like it would be the last time my ridges and valleys stamped my skin. Pins and prickles, reminiscing on colder, icier days, knowing they'll come. Breathing in the winds that lash and bite my face, sighing with the crunch of frozen water under my feet. The shifting skies weep, knowing loss all too well. Earth weeps, one day I will soon return. I am weeping, with sky and earth we sing in harmony, awaiting reunion. The moon embraces my tears, caressing them. My secrets kept safe. Rest. The stars are brighter. They seem to dance.
All right. Madison, give me number 1 through 4.
Let's go that one.
Not 1. D&D. Coral. Keep it going. Keep it going.
Well, this is my first time, so I decided to find a shorter poem. I read at Poetry Sanctuary and they told me to come here.
Nice.
So I was gonna read a poem, an adult poem I write, but about working with Africans and African Americans. But actually, I'm just gonna read a poem about spiritual springtime, which my father, who does have a book, 100 pages, and he may eventually share some of his poetry. He and I wrote together. That was my first poem at age of maturity, but young, age 15. The earth in springtime. Springtime. Come open up your petally flowers, softly swaying in the wind. Chase away the crystal gray dappled snow. Paint the sky a soft stroke of blue. Lift up the vibrant golden sun out of its slumber. Cause the fiery, silky grass to spring up out of its den. Streak the trees with shafts of radiant light. Springtime. The snow was a veil raised by the dawn. Now the tall tulips and sunflowers march rank on rank, up the mountainside as leaders agreeing in harmony. The sky sends its waves of spiritual guidance, flowing across the world. The sun fuses all the different races of the earth together in unity, while the wild grasses and pines herald the building of the ark.
Jazz, 1, 2, 3. 3. Nick, come on down. You're the next person to regale us with poetry. Stupid thing. Not you.
Yeah, well.
Regale us with poetry. That's poetic. I'm really grateful for the space.
Me too.
There's no ultimately competition between poets. It's a celebration and a cry. So thanks everyone. This is a few months back, but revisiting it now, and its working title is Dusk Dawns. The light moves quickly in its slowness, brimming over the trees and glazing the lake in its last dance before turning its face to a new horizon. A momentary blink and it's gone, moved on, and you'll have to wait the long dark until the new birth, just to see that death again. Men have built empires, yes, men have built empires attempting to keep the great sleep at bay, only to arrive at dusk, realizing they did not dawn from nothing. They had left themselves long before any arrival they tried to call. They had left themselves long before any arrival on shores they tried to call their own. You seek to hold that swift moving light. Thinking to move faster is your gambit for surety. But there never was time for the wonder whose gift is revelation, born from the place time itself originates. You were always outrunning your desire, building your empire before you could treasure it, and loving future's shadow, not knowing it was cast by your own light. As acquisition, light turns to smoke, the heat of fire's life vanquished by fear's conquest. The flame turned upon itself to become destroyer. Light was never meant to be held, only shared.
Brett, 5 or 9?
9.
Matt. Hey, there you are.
This is a poem that's set in the Republic of Georgia, which is a small country on the Black Sea. This is called The Georgian Language. The maker of this music is the rain. It goes on all through lunch like human speech. Without a word to follow, it rattles the roof in tempos stolen away, as if controlled by the murmuration of starlings at close of day. Strangers speak to me in archetypes of downpour, and I, in newfound ways, never say things right. I'm not joking. Today at lunch, I ordered white wine and a woman. I meant for walnut pate. There are fewer words for romance than rain. Some words are older than Noah, whose ark lifted in the sudden rain and landed in the mountains south of here with the promise no one aboard would ever feel alone. It isn't Earth's way to wound forever. For an hour or more, I eat and watch the storm sway, in case it is the end of the world.
Curtis, where are you? All right, come on down. Sorry if that's copyrighted and this is on the internet.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Craig Walnut. Appreciate sending this up. This is my second time reading and also my second time going last. So I don't know if I should be offended that you're always picking me last or flattered that you allow me to be the anchor.
It's randomized. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, that's what you say. But all right, so my poem for you tonight is called "Ode to Orestes," and it was inspired by a painting called Orestes Pursued by the Three Furies. It's from Greek mythology. Orestes was a man who killed his mother because his mother killed his father. It's Greek. And he ended up getting driven out into the forest, pursued by three witches or three furies, and he was driven mad and ended up living a life of misery. So this is a poem inspired by that, describing my first fight with my wife and also my last fight with my wife. All right, so a righteous request to clean up spilled beer, unrighteously handled, agreed all who had ears. Clouds gathered dark, and the guests all uprose, quickly departing before there were blows. An insulted wife and the trio of furies turned hot on the husband whom soon was laid low. Like poor Orestes to his fate left alone to bear life's misery forever his own. A current frayed through her electrified hair, a cacophonous wrath laid his errors bare. The furies in trinity venomously spit, betraying their domicile as a messy pit. His masculine pride withered to threadbare, the husband stood gawkish at his own half-wit. Like poor Orestes to his fate left alone, to bear life's misery forever his own. Quavering beneath the triune assault, he dare not admit that he was at fault. Thrice she reminded the burden she bore, a child, apartments, and a wife ignored. The indifference of man on her wounds was laid like salt. To bed they went angry like never before. Like poor Orestes to his fate left alone, to bear life's misery forever alone. Thank you.
Surprise, Curtis, you're not last, actually. Presley, we have time for you. Come on down. Or up. This way.
Ooh. That's what happens when you're a short guy, man.
Oh, shoot.
All right, we got it. All right, so full disclaimer, I rap, and so I do spoken word on the side, and I post my notes online, but this poem is called In the Garden, and it's inspired by this online poetry space called The Garden. And basically, I don't usually use prompts, but this poem inspired me to use a prompt, and my prompt was The Garden. So I just talk about nature and everything to do outside, and I do some name flips. The hostess of that poetry space is called Poison Ivy, and then the co-host is called Poet. So I also do some name flips in this poem as well. So in the garden. Look, the performers of flowers in this garden of poetry. A few hosts to match, but the queen hostess is a synonym to a vine. Literally, the symbolism of ivy equates to fidelity. Poison can't be truly part of the prefix. Ain't no way we can curve this. Because the fact is, helping us branch out makes us leave each space sesh with a purpose. Firmly planted with our words, the differences are vivid with imagery that are evergreen. I mean, paint the scene. Poems bring growth, but can't be watered down to make believe. Shout out to Poet 2. He is a master lyricist, a stand-up dude that alludes to ongoing wisdom the colors painted as significant. Do we write for pure penmanship, elicit a massive like Exodus, or evoke emotions and convey meanings reckless and treacherous? Materialism is more nurture, so marrying gold doesn't equate to marigold for companionship, since marigold enhances companion planting extravagance. My standards for my standards equates to what y'all bring to the table, and it ain't seedling-like type of arrogance. I hope our truths match up to our visions, but as we continue to bloom, let the soil from your roots continue to get richened. Vulnerability, vocally, vocalize, and express. This ain't for casuals. Last session of the year, so this group of flowers should be labeled as annuals, or factual. Can it get when outside the garden is humorous? We are curious. A pad of lilies, a softer canvas. Is it true that I'm furious? The day I see daisies will leave me in a daze, but the lavender effect is numinous. It ain't cliche as I rose. The posse shows humanist. I'm enlightened as I light up the garden with a light that's luminous. By measure, then it's a pleasure to be a part of this collective. As a Black foreign man, it's very easy to feel dejected and rejected. So let the passion of your fruit be the fruit of your passion. I hope I can contribute to the blossoming and affirm all of our actions. Question, am I combative with my tone and presentation? I'm an Aries, so if I set the garden on fire, it ain't a form of deforestation. Boom.
And that has been Poets and Pints number 104. Thank you so much to Dane Schneider, Kyle Myhre, Ty Chapman, who had to leave, but he's here today, so still clap. And to all the open micers, thank you so much for coming down. We are here again next month on the 21st of the month in February. It's a little late because of the way the Wednesdays work out. We're always on the third Wednesday. So if you're not part of our Facebook group, you should join that. Or we're on Instagram at Poets and Pints. We're on YouTube at Poets and Pints. This show will be on YouTube at Poets and Pints. I think you're getting the waves working here. So my name is Tony Placido. I've been your host this evening. I'm your host most evenings, but I'm not your host next month. That will be Pearl Warren, who is amazing. So please be here. Everybody, thank you so much for coming. Please put all of your glasses and stuff into the trays that are on the counter. And if you could bring your candles to the bar, that would be super too. That would help me with cleaning up. Thank you so much. We got to be out of here by 9, but you can sit and socialize a little bit if you want. All right, thanks.